You warned them. Chosen one, you said it once. Dead calm, straight to their face. I'm chosen. Don't mess with me. No yelling, no dramatics. Just truth, spoken low enough that only the right people needed to hear it. And they laughed. They actually laughed, like you'd told a joke, instead of handing them a preview. They looked at each other, rolled their eyes, and went right back to doing exactly what they were already doing. Talking about you, testing you, digging at you like you were something they were entitled to break. Here's what they didn't understand in that moment. That wasn't a threat. You don't make threats. Threats are for people who need to prove something. That was a warning, and a warning is a gift. It's the universe giving someone one last exit before the door locks. They had the exit. They walked right past it, smirking the whole way. And now, chosen one, look at them. Look at what's happening to the same people who couldn't take you seriously for 5 seconds. The confidence is gone. The smirk is gone. What's left is people checking their phones too fast, replaying old conversations, wondering out loud why everything they touch lately turns to ash. They don't call it karma yet. They're still calling it bad luck. Give it time. They'll get there. This is the part nobody tells you about being chosen. You don't have to lift a finger. You said your piece once and then you went quiet. And that silence has been doing more damage than anything you could have shouted. Because while they were busy proving you right, something was already moving behind the scenes. Patient, exact, and done being patient. Before we go further, chosen one, hit like and subscribe. Not for me, for the signal. Every like tells the algorithm to put this message in front of the next person who needs to hear that their warning wasn't empty either. Consider it payment back to the universe for what it's about to show you. Now here's the truth they ignored. Karma doesn't announce itself when it arrives. It arrives after. After the warning, after the laughing, after they've built their whole little kingdom on the assumption that you were bluffing. And once it arrives, it doesn't negotiate, and it definitely doesn't stop because someone starts begging. You told them once. They didn't listen. Now something bigger than you is finishing the sentence you started, and it isn't asking anyone's permission to do it. So sit back, chosen one. You don't need to explain this to anyone. You don't need to say, I told you so. Just watch. Because what's coming for them next, they brought it on themselves the moment they decided your warning was something to laugh at instead of something to fear. Number 1. The warning they mistook for weakness. You didn't yell it. You didn't post it. You said it once, quietly, and let it sit in the room like a lit match near dry wood. I'm chosen. Don't mess with me. 5 words. No exclamation point needed. And because you didn't scream it, because you didn't back it up with threats or drama, they decided it meant nothing. That's the mistake people make with quiet people every single time. They confuse calm with empty. They confuse restraint with fear. They think if you're not shouting, you've got nothing behind you. Here's what they never bothered to ask themselves. Why would someone who actually has power need to raise their voice? Loud is for people who aren't sure they'll be believed. You didn't need to be believed. You needed to be accurate. And accurate doesn't come with volume. It comes with certainty. So they took your warning and turned it into a punchline. They repeated it to each other in that mocking tone people use when they think they're safe. I'm chosen. Don't mess with me, they'd say, laughing, rolling their eyes, feeling clever for not being scared of something they should have taken seriously. They thought your calm meant you had nothing left. They thought your silence after that meant you'd backed down, that you regretted saying it, that you were embarrassed. None of that was true. You weren't backing down. You were done talking. There's a difference between someone who goes quiet because they lost and someone who goes quiet because the conversation is over. Think about what a warning actually is. It's not a request. It's not a plea. It's information, offered once, out of something almost like mercy, because the person giving it already knows how the story ends if it isn't heeded. You weren't asking them to stop hurting you for your own comfort. You were telling them what happens next if they don't. That's not weakness. That's someone who already knows the outcome, trying to save the other side the trouble. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for them, chosen one. Because warnings like that don't come from nowhere. They come from somewhere earned, somewhere built through everything you survived before this. You didn't wake up one day and decide to call yourself chosen for fun. You lived through the proof first. Every setback that should have ended you and didn't. Every person who tried to erase you and failed. Every version of you that got tested and came back standing. That's not a title you claim lightly. That's a title you pay for in advance, long before anyone else understands what it costs. They didn't see any of that history. They only saw the calm surface and assumed there was nothing underneath it. That's their pattern, not yours. People who live shallow only recognize threats that look like other shallow things. Loud, dramatic, easy to name. They can't recognize the quiet kind because they've never had to build the kind of stillness that comes from actually surviving something. So when you warned them and didn't raise your voice, they filed it under nothing and went right back to their games. Here's the part they're only starting to understand now. A warning ignored doesn't disappear. It doesn't expire. It sits there, patient, waiting for the exact moment it's needed, and then it collects. What they mistook for weakness was actually the last kindness you were going to offer. And chosen one, the moment they laughed it off, was the moment the clock actually started. Number 2. The moment the room stopped laughing with them. It didn't happen all at once. Nothing real ever does. It started small, the way these things always start. A comment that used to land, now falling flat. A joke about you that used to get a room roaring, now getting a few uncomfortable half smiles and silence. They noticed it before they understood it. The energy in the room had shifted, and they were the only ones who hadn't caught up yet. You know how this works. Rooms have a temperature. When you walked in, back when they were still bold enough to talk about you like you weren't a real person, the room ran hot with their confidence. They fed off each other. One person made a jab, another one laughed harder than it deserved, and suddenly the whole group felt untouchable together. That's how cowardice always operates. It needs company. It needs an audience nodding along, so no one individual has to own what they're actually doing. But something started happening that none of them expected. The audience got quieter. People who used to laugh along started glancing at their phones instead. People who used to add their own jabs started changing the subject. Not because anyone announced a change of heart, because something in the air told them this wasn't safe territory anymore. You didn't have to say a word for that shift to happen. The warning you gave once was already doing the work. Here's what's happening behind that discomfort, chosen one, even if the people feeling it can't name it yet. When you tell someone the truth and they ignore it, and then reality starts proving that truth right in front of everyone, people notice, even the ones who claim not to be paying attention. They start remembering what you said. They start replaying it in their heads at inconvenient moments, usually right after watching something go wrong for the person who dismissed you. And once that memory gets triggered, laughing along stops feeling fun. It starts feeling like standing too close to something that's about to go off. Picture the ones who used to be loudest about mocking you, now going quiet first. Not because they suddenly respect you, because the ground under the joke started shifting, and instinct is smarter than ego. Instinct knows when something has changed, even before the mind admits it. Meanwhile, the ones who actually did the damage, the ones who ignored your warning directly, they're the last to notice the room turning on them. They're still performing the old script, still expecting the old laughs, and getting nothing back but silence and side eyes. That gap between what they expect and what they're actually getting, That gap is where the fear starts to live. Because when the room stops laughing at your expense and starts watching them instead, they finally understand something they should have understood the day you warned them. The story was never going to end with them on top forever. It was only ever going to end the way you said it would. Word travels strangely in rooms like that. Nobody sends a memo, nobody calls a meeting to announce that the mood has changed. It just moves person to person, in half sentences, in the way someone's eyes flick away a second too fast when your name comes up now. That's how a shift becomes permanent, not through any single dramatic moment, but through 100 tiny withdrawals that add up to a room that used to feel like theirs, no longer feeling that way at all. And the people who ignored your warning are standing right in the middle of it, still expecting the old temperature, wondering privately why nothing feels the way it used to. Number 3, small things breaking that used to hold steady. This is where it gets interesting, chosen one, because karma rarely announces itself with a single dramatic collapse. It arrives in inconveniences first. A deal that should have closed falls apart for no clear reason. A relationship that felt solid starts cracking over nothing. Plans that used to come together effortlessly start requiring twice the work for half the result. Individually, none of it looks like punishment. Together, it starts looking like a pattern, and patterns are exactly what people who ignored a warning start noticing when it's already too late to undo the choice that triggered it. They'll tell themselves it's a rough patch. Everyone has rough patches, they'll say, trying to laugh it off the way they laughed off your warning. But rough patches end. What's happening to them isn't ending. It's compounding. One small crack becomes two. Two becomes a structural problem. And underneath all of it, if they were honest with themselves for even a second, they'd remember exactly when this started. It started the day they decided your warning was something to mock instead of something to respect. Here's something worth understanding about how consequences actually move. They don't need to be loud to be devastating. A slow leak sinks a ship just as completely as a hole blown through the hull. It just takes longer and gives everyone on board more time to panic about it. That's what's happening to the people who ignored you. They're not watching their world end in one dramatic night. They're watching it end in 100 small failures that keep stacking on top of each other until the weight becomes impossible to ignore. And the cruelest part, chosen one, is that they can't even point to a single cause. There's no obvious villain, no clear moment they can blame. Just a growing list of things that used to work and suddenly don't. That confusion is its own kind of punishment. It's one thing to lose a fight you can see. It's another thing entirely to lose slowly to something you can't identify, can't confront, and definitely can't argue with. You've probably noticed the small tells already if you've been paying attention. The way certain people avoid certain topics now. The way their usual confidence has a slight tremor in it that wasn't there before. The way they've started over-explaining themselves in conversations where they used to just talk and expect to be believed. Guilty people over-explain, scared people over-explain, and the ones who ignored your warning are starting to sound like both at once. None of this required you to do anything. You said your piece and you stepped back. Everything happening to them now is the direct result of the choice they made after hearing you clearly and deciding it didn't apply to them. It applied. It always applied. They're just now starting to feel the weight of pretending it didn't. Picture water finding a crack in stone. It doesn't force its way through in one push. It seeps in slowly, freezes, expands, and comes back the next season to do it again, until one day the stone splits and everyone acts shocked like it happened overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It happened one ignored warning at a time, one small failure at a time, patient the way only something inevitable can afford to be. The people watching this unfold from a distance are starting to whisper the same word to each other, quietly, almost like they're afraid to say it too loud. Karma. Not luck, not coincidence. Karma. Doing exactly what it does when a clear warning gets treated like a joke. Number 4. The lie they built to explain away your warning. Every person who ignores something true has to build a story to survive the ignoring. They can't just admit they heard a warning, understood it, and chose to gamble anyway. That's too honest, too uncomfortable, too close to admitting they were the problem all along. So instead, they build a version of events where you were never really a threat, where your warning was insecurity dressed up as confidence, where the real story is that you're the one who overreacts, who's too sensitive, who reads danger into situations that were never dangerous at all. That story worked for them for a while. Stories like that always work for a while, especially when there's an audience willing to nod along, because agreeing is easier than questioning. But a lie built to protect someone's ego has a shelf life, and that shelf life gets shorter every time reality contradicts it. Every small failure that follows the pattern chips away at the story a little more. Every uncomfortable coincidence makes the lie a little harder to maintain with a straight face. Here's what's happening right now behind the scenes, chosen one. The story they told about you is starting to require constant patching. Every time something goes wrong for them, they have to come up with a new explanation that doesn't involve the words, "the warning," and "we ignored it." That takes energy. That takes focus. And every ounce of energy they spend maintaining a lie is energy they don't have left to actually fix what's falling apart. Think of it like patching a hole in a wall over and over, instead of finding out why the wall keeps cracking in the first place. They keep slapping fresh plaster over the same spot, telling themselves and everyone around them that it's fixed now. This time it's really fixed. And then the crack reappears somewhere else, because the actual problem was never addressed. The actual problem was the choice they made the day they laughed at you instead of listening. And the people around them, the ones who used to nod along automatically, they're starting to notice the plaster job too. They're starting to ask quiet questions that don't have easy answers. Wait, didn't this happen before? Wasn't there a warning about exactly this? The story that used to hold everything together is developing its own cracks. And once people start questioning the story, the whole structure gets shaky fast. You don't need to correct the lie, chosen one. You don't need to remind anyone what you said or when you said it. The lie is already collapsing under its own weight, one inconvenient truth at a time. All you have to do is let it. Every attempt they make to explain away what's happening only draws more attention to the one explanation they refuse to say out loud, that they were told, clearly, and chose not to listen. A lie needs an audience to survive. That's the part they never accounted for. It's not enough to convince yourself of a version of events. You need other people willing to keep repeating it back to you, nodding along, reinforcing it every time it gets tested. And right now, that audience is thinning out fast. The people who used to laugh along at your expense are starting to go quiet when the old story gets brought up. Not because they suddenly love you, but because repeating a story that keeps getting contradicted by reality makes a person look foolish, and nobody wants to be the last one still defending a version of events that everyone else has already stopped believing. Number 5. The ones who quietly remember what you said. Not everyone laughed as hard as the loudest voices in the room. There were always a few people standing slightly outside the group, watching, saying nothing, filing away what they saw. Those people remember your warning word for word, even if they never repeated it out loud. And now that reality is catching up to the people who ignored it, those quiet witnesses are the ones putting the pieces together fastest. This matters more than it seems like it should, chosen one, because reputation doesn't collapse in one moment. It erodes through 100 small conversations happening in places you're not even in. Someone mentions offhand that things have been rough for the people who used to mock you. Someone else, one of the quiet ones, says nothing dramatic, just a simple, almost thoughtful line. Yeah, they were warned about this, you know. And just like that, a seed gets planted in a conversation you never heard, among people you may never meet, and it starts spreading on its own. You don't need an army to shift a narrative. You need a handful of people who were paying attention when everyone else was busy performing. And those people exist in every room, in every group, in every situation where someone gets warned and chooses to ignore it in front of witnesses. They're not loud. They don't need to be. Quiet observation carries its own kind of weight, especially when it eventually gets confirmed by events nobody can argue with. Here's what's happening to the people who dismissed you right now, whether they realize it or not. Their story is starting to compete with a second story, one they don't control, one being told in low voices by people who saw the whole thing unfold and aren't interested in protecting the version that makes the loud ones look good. Two competing stories can coexist for a while. But when one of them keeps getting proven right by reality and the other one keeps requiring more patchwork to hold together, it's not hard to guess which version eventually wins. This is the part that should sit heavy with them if they had any self-awareness left, chosen one. It's not that you're spreading anything. You don't have to. The people who watch them ignore a clear warning are doing the remembering for you. And memory, once it starts connecting to consequence, becomes very hard to argue with. They can deny it to your face all they want. They can't deny it to the people who were standing in the room and never forgot what they heard you say. There's a particular kind of comfort in being remembered accurately, chosen one, even when you never asked to be watched that closely. You weren't performing for those quiet witnesses. You weren't trying to build a case for later. You were just telling the truth once, calmly, in a room full of people who mostly weren't listening. But a few were, and it turns out a few is always enough. It only takes one person who remembers clearly to keep a story honest, and it only takes that one honest memory, repeated at the right moment, to unravel weeks of careful performance from people who assumed nobody was paying real attention. Number 6. Karma keeping better time than they expected. Here's something they got badly wrong when they decided to ignore you. They assumed that if nothing happened immediately, nothing was going to happen at all. That's the mistake almost everyone makes when they're staring down a warning they don't want to take seriously. They confuse the absence of instant consequence with the absence of consequence altogether. So the days passed, then the weeks, and when nothing dramatic showed up right away, they relaxed. They told themselves they'd been right to laugh, that your warning had been empty after all, that the universe apparently hadn't gotten the memo. Chosen one, that assumption is exactly why what's happening to them now hits so much harder. Karma doesn't work on their calendar. It doesn't check in with their comfort level or move at a pace that lets them prepare. It moves on its own schedule, and that schedule almost always waits until the person has fully relaxed into the belief that they got away with something. That's not cruelty, that's precision. A consequence delivered too early gets brushed off as bad timing. A consequence delivered after someone has fully convinced themselves they're safe lands with a weight nothing else can match. Think about how confident they've been the last few months, how loudly they've been telling everyone that everything worked out fine, that they never should have taken your warning seriously in the first place. Every one of those confident statements is now sitting on record, in someone's memory, waiting to be replayed the exact moment things start falling apart. And they are falling apart. Not because the universe was slow, because the universe was patient, and patience is a different thing entirely. There's a particular kind of humiliation reserved for people who bragged about dodging a bullet right before it actually lands. They spent time mocking your warning publicly, laughing about how nothing came of it, using your silence afterward as proof that you'd been all talk. Every one of those moments is about to become deeply uncomfortable to remember, because the timing that's unfolding now doesn't feel random to anyone watching. It feels exact. You didn't set a countdown, chosen one. You didn't need to. You said what you said, and let time do what time always does when someone ignores something true. And now, right when they thought the story was over and they'd won, it's only just getting started, on a schedule you never controlled and they never saw coming. That false sense of relief is almost the cruelest part of the whole timeline, if you think about it. There was a window right after they ignored you, where everything still felt fine, where they got to walk around feeling like they'd gotten away with something. Chosen one, that window wasn't mercy, it was just the space between the choice and the collection. Some people spend that space getting humble, quietly correcting course before it's too late. The people who ignored you spent it getting louder, more confident, more convinced they'd been right to dismiss you. That's exactly the kind of overconfidence that makes the collection, when it finally comes, land twice as hard. Number 7, the panic that shows up when explanations stop working. There's a specific moment where denial stops functioning as a strategy, and it's the moment right before real panic sets in. That's exactly where the people who ignored your warning are standing right now. The excuses have run out of road. The story they built has too many holes in it to hold anyone's attention anymore. And underneath all the scrambling, there's a growing, uncomfortable suspicion that they can't quite say out loud yet, that maybe, just maybe, they should have listened. Panic doesn't look dignified on anyone, chosen one, and it's showing up in small, telling ways, over-explaining conversations that didn't need an explanation, reaching out to people they haven't spoken to in months, suddenly desperate to patch relationships they burned without a second thought, when they thought your warning was a joke, trying new strategies overnight, changing their whole approach, hoping something, anything, will slow down what's already in motion. None of it is working the way they hope, because panic-driven moves rarely fix what patience and awareness could have prevented in the first place. Here's the part that's especially hard for them to sit with. They can't even be angry at a clear enemy. There's no single person to blame, no villain to point at and say, "You did this to me." The only name that keeps surfacing when they trace the timeline backward is their own. Standing in a room, laughing at something they were told plainly and chose to dismiss. That kind of self-inflicted consequence is harder to survive emotionally than almost anything an outside enemy could have done to them. Because there's nowhere to direct the anger except inward, and most people who behave the way they behave toward you aren't built for that kind of honesty. You'll start to notice it in how they talk now, if you're paying attention. Less certainty, more qualifiers. Sentences that used to come out confident and dismissive now come out careful, almost pleading, like they're testing the room to see if anyone still believes their version of events. That shift in tone is panic leaking through the cracks of a story that no longer holds. And chosen one, here's the truth underneath all of it. Panic doesn't reverse consequence. It just makes the person experiencing it more visible while it's happening. Every scramble, every overcorrection, every desperate attempt to control a situation that's already out of their hands, it's all just confirming, louder and louder, that the warning they laughed at was never empty. It was accurate. And accuracy, once it starts proving itself, doesn't care how much anyone begs it to stop. Panic has a way of showing people exactly who they are underneath all the performance. Some people, when things start falling apart, get quiet and reflective, actually willing to ask themselves hard questions about how they got here. That's not what's happening with the people who ignored you. What's showing up instead is a kind of frantic self-protection, blaming timing, blaming bad luck, blaming anyone and anything except the moment they laughed off a clear warning in front of witnesses. That refusal to look inward is exactly why the panic keeps compounding instead of resolving. You can't fix what you refuse to name. And right now, they still refuse to say the one sentence that would actually explain everything happening to them. Number 8. The people scrambling to switch sides now. This is the part that should feel almost funny if it weren't so predictable. The same people who stayed quiet while you were being mocked, who laughed along just enough to stay comfortable without ever fully committing to either side. They're the first ones trying to distance themselves the moment things started going wrong for the people who ignored you. Suddenly they're the ones saying they always had a bad feeling about it. Suddenly they're the ones claiming they warned everyone this would happen, conveniently forgetting they never said a word while it was actually unfolding. Chosen one, don't let that fool you for even a second. That's not loyalty showing up late. That's self-preservation showing up exactly on time. The moment consequence becomes visible, the fence-sitters always start looking for a side that isn't about to get burned. And right now, standing next to the people who ignored your warning is starting to look like a very uncomfortable place to be. Watch how fast the group that used to be tight starts fracturing under pressure. People who used to defend each other automatically are suddenly hedging, suddenly adding distance to their language, suddenly talking about the people who dismissed you like they were never that close to begin with. It's remarkable how quickly loyalty rewrites itself the moment loyalty starts costing something. This matters because it strips away the last thing the people who ignored you were counting on, which was safety in numbers. They assumed that if things ever did go sideways, they'd have a group around them to absorb the impact together. But groups built on convenience don't hold under real pressure. They scatter every single time the moment staying put starts to look risky. And once the group scatters, the people who ignored your warning are left standing alone with exactly what they earned. No buffer, no backup, no one left willing to say it wasn't that bad. You don't need to call any of this out, chosen one. You don't need to point at the ones switching sides and say what everyone already knows. Let them scramble. Let them rewrite their own history in real time. Everyone watching can see exactly what's happening, and the people doing the scrambling know it too, even if they'd never admit it. There's no dignity in running from a fire you helped start the moment it stops being convenient to stand near it. And right now, that's exactly what's happening to everyone who once thought laughing at your warning made them untouchable. Isolation lands differently on people who built their whole identity around always having backup. For someone used to standing alone, being alone isn't a punishment, it's just familiar ground. But for the people who ignored you, who needed the group to feel powerful, watching that group thin out one quiet exit at a time is its own kind of consequence, separate from anything else happening around them. They're finding out in real time that the loyalty they thought they had was never loyalty at all. It was convenience wearing loyalty's clothes. And convenience always leaves the moment the cost stops being worth it. Number 9. Why mercy doesn't move on their timeline anymore. At some point, when the pressure gets heavy enough, people start begging. Not out loud, not always directly, but in every small gesture that says, please, make this stop. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I get it now. That's where the people who ignored you are starting to land, chosen one, in that uncomfortable space between denial and desperation, hoping that if they perform enough regret, the consequences will ease up. Here's the part they haven't figured out yet. Mercy isn't something you beg into existence after the fact. Mercy was already offered, once, clearly, in the exact moment you gave the warning they laughed at. That was the mercy. That was the chance. What's happening now isn't a negotiation. It's a result. And results don't respond to begging the way people wish they did, because results are just the truth, catching up to a choice that already happened. This is uncomfortable to watch sometimes, even for the people who aren't directly involved. There's a very human instinct to feel sympathy when someone starts pleading, even someone who earned every bit of what's landing on them. But sympathy and consequence are two different things, and confusing them is exactly how people end up excusing behavior that never should have been excused in the first place. You don't have to soften what's happening just because it's finally starting to feel real to the people experiencing it. They'll try different tactics as the pressure builds. Some will get quiet and try to look humbled, hoping humility performed in public will earn them a pass. Some will get louder, trying to argue their way out of something that was never up for debate. Some will try flattery, suddenly acting warm toward you after months of treating you like nothing, hoping proximity to you now will somehow undo what they set in motion by ignoring you then. None of it works the way they hope, because none of it addresses the actual moment where all of this started, the moment they were told clearly and decided it didn't apply to them. Chosen one, you don't owe anyone an explanation for why the mercy window closed. You didn't close it, they did, the day they laughed instead of listened. All that's left now is for them to sit with the timing of their own choice, and no amount of late begging changes the fact that the warning came first, clear and calm, and they're the ones who decided it wasn't worth hearing. It's worth being honest about the difference between mercy and softness here, chosen one, because people tend to confuse the two. Softness means letting someone off the hook to keep the peace, even when they haven't actually changed. Mercy is different. Mercy was the warning itself, offered freely, before any of this needed to happen. You already gave the merciful version of this story. What's playing out now isn't a lack of compassion on the universe's part, it's simply what happens after compassion gets declined. You don't have to feel guilty about that. You didn't write the rule that consequence follows ignored truth. You just happened to be standing there, telling the truth, when they decided it wasn't worth their attention. Number 10. What death itself really means in a story like this one. Let's be honest about the phrase for a second, chosen one, because it matters. This was never about anyone's actual life ending. It was never that kind of story. What's ending, permanently, is the version of them that got to walk through the world untouched, unaccountable, laughing at warnings because nothing had ever made them pay for ignoring one before. That version of them is the one being buried right now, piece by piece, and it's not coming back. Think of it as the death of an illusion, the illusion that they could treat people however they wanted, with zero consequence attached. That illusion felt like armor to them for a long time. It let them mock, dismiss, and disrespect without a second thought, because in their experience, nothing bad had ever followed. Your warning was the first real crack in that illusion, and everything happening now is the illusion finally finishing its collapse. There's a kind of ending that happens to people while they're still breathing, chosen one. The ending of a reputation, the ending of a comfortable story they told about themselves, the ending of the easy confidence that let them dismiss a clear warning without a flicker of doubt. That's the death this is really about, and it's a kind of ending that hits harder in some ways than anything physical could, because they have to keep living inside the wreckage of it every single day, watching people who used to respect them pull away, watching opportunities that used to come easy dry up, watching their own explanations stop landing on anyone who's paying attention. And here's the detail that makes it land even harder for them. They can't undo it by apologizing to the wreckage. You can't beg a collapsed reputation back into standing the way it was. You can't negotiate with the version of events that everyone already watched unfold in real time. What's finished is finished, and no amount of pleading changes the sequence of events that led here, starting with a warning, moving through the laughter, and ending in exactly the outcome they were told to expect. Chosen one, you never asked for this outcome specifically. You just told the truth once, and let consequence handle the rest on its own timeline. That's the difference between revenge and karma. Revenge needs you to swing the blade. Karma doesn't need you at all. It just needs someone to ignore a warning clearly enough. And then it finishes the story exactly the way it was always going to end. It's worth saying plainly, chosen one, because the imagery in this kind of story can get heavy. Nobody actually needs to be harmed for this to be true. The ending being described here is the ending of a lifestyle, a reputation, a set of assumptions they built their whole personality around. That kind of death is real, it's measurable, and it's happening right now in the small, quiet ways people stop calling, stop inviting, stop believing the old performance. That's the death that matters in a story like this one. Not a literal ending, but the end of a version of them that never should have been allowed to keep going unchecked in the first place. Number 11. The audience watching them beg in real time. Here's something they didn't calculate when they decided your warning wasn't worth respecting. None of this is happening privately. Every stumble, every scramble, every uncomfortable attempt to explain away what's falling apart is happening in front of an audience that remembers exactly how confident they used to be about not needing to listen to you. And audiences remember contrast better than almost anything else. Think about how loud they used to be. Think about how certain they used to sound, mocking your warning in front of anyone who'd listen, using their confidence as a performance meant to make you look small and them look untouchable. That performance is exactly what makes their current unraveling so visible now. You can't fall from a place you never claimed to stand on. But they claimed plenty. They stood tall, publicly, on the exact ground that's now crumbling under them. And everyone who watched them stand there is watching them fall from it too. This is why quiet works so well over loud, chosen one. You never had to perform certainty in front of a crowd. You said your piece once, without an audience demanding your attention, and let the outcome speak for itself later. They did the opposite. They made a spectacle out of dismissing you, which means the universe gets to make a spectacle out of proving them wrong, and there's nowhere for them to hide from an audience that was there for both halves of the story. People are talking, not loudly, not always directly to their faces, but in the quiet conversations that happen after someone leaves the room, in the glances exchanged when their name comes up, in the way people who used to defend them now change the subject fast. That's the sound of an audience updating its opinion in real time. And once an audience starts updating, it rarely swings back in favor of the person who's currently losing. You don't need to say anything to that audience, chosen one. You don't need to remind anyone what happened or when it started. The people watching already have the full story, beginning to end, warning to consequence, and they're drawing their own conclusions without any help from you. All you have to do is let the story finish playing out in front of the same people who once thought laughing at you was safe. Some of that audience is doing more than just watching. Some of them are quietly rethinking how they treat their own warnings, the ones they've been dismissing in their own lives because acting on them felt inconvenient at the time. That's the part nobody talks about enough. This isn't only their story anymore. Every person watching it unfold is measuring their own choices against it, wondering privately if there's a warning sitting in their own life right now that they've been laughing off the same way. That's a strange kind of ripple to set in motion just by telling the truth once and letting the consequence speak for itself. Number 12. Why apologizing now doesn't reset the clock. Somewhere in the middle of all this, the apologies start showing up. Awkward, overdue, and usually more about relieving their own discomfort than actually accounting for what they did. Chosen one, you're allowed to notice the difference between an apology that means something and an apology that's just trying to make consequence stop hurting. Most of what's coming your way right now falls into the second category. Here's the thing about timing that they never understood until it was too late. An apology offered before consequence lands can sometimes prevent it. An apology offered after consequence has already started moving, usually can't do much more than acknowledge what's already happening. That's not punishment for punishment's sake. That's just how cause and effect actually works. They had their window, back when the warning was fresh, and the choice was still theirs to make differently. They chose to laugh instead. The window closed on its own, not because anyone was being cruel, but because that's what windows do when they're ignored long enough. Watch how these apologies tend to arrive, if you pay close attention. They rarely lead with real accountability. They lead with justification dressed up as regret. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't think it would actually happen. I was just joking around. I didn't know you were serious. None of those statements are apologies. They're attempts to rewrite the story so the blame lands somewhere softer than where it actually belongs. Real accountability sounds different. Real accountability doesn't need 3 sentences of context before it gets to the actual admission. You get to decide what you do with apologies like that, chosen one, and nobody can tell you the right answer but you. But understand this clearly. Accepting an apology and reversing consequence are 2 completely different things. You can forgive someone in your own heart, quietly, for your own peace, without that forgiveness undoing a single thing that's already in motion. Karma doesn't check with you before it finishes what it started, and it definitely doesn't check with the person who ignored the warning in the first place, no matter how sorry they sound, once the damage is already visible to everyone around them. And here's something worth holding on to for your own sake, chosen one, separate from anything happening to them. Forgiving someone, quietly, in your own heart, isn't the same as pretending none of it happened or letting them back into the same position they abused before. You can release the anger for your own peace without handing back the trust they broke. That's not coldness, that's wisdom. Peace doesn't require you to forget what someone showed you about themselves. It just means you're no longer carrying the weight of it around every single day the way you used to. Number 13. What's left standing when the noise finally clears? Every collapse eventually goes quiet. The panic burns itself out. The scrambling slows down. The apologies stop landing because there's no one left surprised by them anymore. And in that quiet, chosen one, something becomes very easy to see that used to be buried under all their noise and confidence. What's left standing and what isn't? You're still standing. That's not a small detail, that's the entire point. Through every laugh, every dismissal, every moment, they treated your warning like it was beneath their attention. You never had to raise your voice again after the first time. You didn't need a comeback tour. You didn't need to remind anyone what you said. You just kept living your life while the consequence they earned did the talking for you, one uncomfortable month at a time. Meanwhile, look at what isn't standing anymore. The confidence that used to fill every room they walked into. The group of people who used to laugh along automatically, now scattered and distancing themselves as fast as they can. The story they told about you, the one where you were the dramatic one, the sensitive one, the one who overreacted. That story doesn't hold anymore because reality kept contradicting it in front of witnesses. What's left where all of that used to be is just quiet. The kind of quiet that shows up after something has genuinely ended. This is what people mean when they talk about karma being patient rather than cruel. It didn't rush to punish anyone. It let them dig their own hole, one dismissive comment at a time, one ignored warning at a time, until the hole was deep enough that climbing out wasn't really an option anymore. You didn't dig that hole for them. You just told them, once, clearly, that it existed and that they were standing near the edge of it. What they did with that information was always going to be their choice, and they made it. Chosen one, this is the part where you get to exhale. Not because you won some competition, but because you never had to fight the fight they thought you were fighting. You said the truth. You let go of the outcome. And the outcome arrived anyway. exactly the way it was always going to. Because that's what happens when a warning that was true gets ignored by people who assumed truth needed their permission to matter. And this quiet, chosen one doesn't mean shutting the whole world out from here forward. That's not what this was ever about. There were people who never laughed, who never joined in, who stayed steady the entire time this was unfolding, and those are exactly the people worth keeping close now. The lesson here was never that everyone is a threat. The lesson was that truth eventually sorts people into two groups on its own, the ones who respected it and the ones who mocked it. And you don't have to do the sorting yourself. You just have to notice who's still standing near you once the noise clears, and hold on to that. Number 14. Why this was never about revenge, and why that's exactly what makes it land so hard. Here's the last piece they'll never fully understand. Chosen one, even after everything that's happened, you were never trying to hurt them. That was never the goal, not when you gave the warning, and not now, watching it play out. The goal, if there ever was one, was simply telling the truth and letting people make their own choice about what to do with it. What happened after that wasn't you getting even. It was consequence, doing what consequence always does when truth gets dismissed loudly enough, in front of enough witnesses, by people who should have known better. That distinction matters more than it might seem like it should. Revenge requires you to stay invested in someone's downfall, to track it, to savor it, to make sure it lands exactly the way you want it to. You never had to do any of that. You told them once and moved forward with your own life. And the fact that their world is unraveling right now has almost nothing to do with anything you actively did after that first warning. That's what makes it land so hard for them. They can't even be angry at you the normal way because you didn't do this to them. Their own choice did. This is the part that should sit with you the longest. Chosen one. Not because you need to gloat, but because it confirms something you probably already suspected about yourself. You're not the kind of person who needs to chase consequence down and deliver it personally. You're the kind of person whose word is accurate enough that the world does the delivering on its own. That's rarer than people think, and it's exactly why the people who ignored you are learning this lesson the hard way instead of the easy one you originally offered them. Look at where you're standing now compared to where they're standing. You gave a warning and released it. They took that warning, mocked it, built an entire story around dismissing it, and spent months performing confidence they no longer actually have. The gap between those two positions was always going to widen, because one side was built on truth, and the other side was built on the assumption that truth doesn't apply to people who laugh loud enough at it. So no, chosen one, this was never about revenge, it was about accuracy. You said what was true, and truth, given enough time and enough ignored warnings, always finds its own way to finish the sentence. They're finishing it right now, on their knees, in every way that matters except literally, wishing they'd listened the first time, and there's nothing left for them to do but sit with the timing of a choice they made when they still had the chance to choose differently. So here's where this leaves things, chosen one. You said it once. They laughed. And now, the same certainty that let them dismiss you is the exact thing collapsing under their feet, piece by piece, in front of everyone who watched them do it. You don't need closure, because you were never the one left with the open wound here. You spoke the truth, released it, and let time handle the rest, exactly the way it was always going to. If this message landed the way it was supposed to, drop 77 in the comments so the next chosen one scrolling past knows their warning wasn't empty either. Like this video, subscribe if you're new, and share it with someone who needs to remember that truth doesn't need permission to be right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.